Okay, this is crazy. Have you ever wanted a build that literally annihilates everything on the battlefield with no need to even worry about crits or weak points? Just pure explosive damage that can nearly one-shot any enemy while having the ability to consistently chunk bosses' health. Well, I have just the build for you, so like the video and subscribe to my channel if you're hype about what I'm about to show you. Someone made a comment on my latest build video with a request for me to make an explosive build, but he asked me specifically if I could make it for fun. Well, my friend, I have made it. The build is for sure fun, but I'll tell you that it's not a gimmick at all. It's not just for fun and games. You actually will have a build that can compete with any other DPS build or whatever. These rings and amulets are in the game for a reason, and I wanted to see if they can perform as I imagined they would, and they have. Whenever I'm running through any dungeon or open world area on Apocalypse, I can literally wipe everything so fast. It takes a bit of getting used to, but once you do, it's very fun and effective. Here's the primary weapon I'm using. It's called the 𝐴𝐴. It's the pulse weapon you can craft for defeating Annihilation, the final boss, and here's what it does. The mod is called 𝒉𝒆𝒍𝒑𝒔. Brand a target for 30 seconds. Branded enemies that die leave a brand at their location. Reloading or swapping weapons detonates brands, dealing 225 damage. Of course, this scales depending on the level. Additional brands, which is 3 max on the same target, deal 50% damage. Slain enemies return a portion of ammo and mob power to the weapon. And this thing fires slow, so as you fire, each successful hit reduces the charge time by 0.1 seconds and increases damage by 10 seconds, and it stacks 5 times. Now, I'm gonna be honest. It's pretty difficult to get used to the normal firing mode this gun has. It starts out very slow, which makes it hard to kill ads when in the middle of a boss fight. I mean, you can relatively get used to it because the normal fire mode is secondary to 𝒉𝒆𝒍𝒑𝒔. You only want that explosion, and it only takes a few shots to generate the mod. Plus, the archetype combo I have is Engineer Archon for that mod power generation, so it pretty much fills up automatically. And I'll get to why I'm using Engineer in a second, but check this out. My secondary weapon is one I cycle between depending on the encounter. Both of them have an explosive for their mod when activated, but let me talk about the Meridian first. It fires volatile grenades that explode on direct contact with enemies and deal AoE damage within 4 meters. Dormant grenades eventually explode and can also be shot to detonate early. And here's the mod, it's called Screamer. It fires a high-powered rocket that deals up to 200 damage or more within 2.5 meters. And this is why the 𝐴𝐴 is so good synergistically with this. Because in order to activate 𝒉𝒆𝒍𝒑𝒔, a weapon swap is required for it to detonate. Then, when switching to the Meridian is when I unleash even more hell with the 5 screamers loaded into the chamber. Speaking of hell, the Hellfire is what I use for the alternate secondary weapon. It spews flames that apply burning, which deal 300 fire damage over 10 seconds. That's a pretty long time. And the mod is Explosive Shot. Fires an explosive round that deals up to 155 damage within 9 meters. And it's only 2 shots, by the way, but this deals more damage than the Meridian. The reason why I use this as an alternate is because it's a flamethrower, and it's great for clearing out certain enemies that the Meridian cannot due to the grenades bouncing around so much. And all 3 of these weapons scale with explosive damage, which brings me to the setup I have to increase their damage even more. The amulet I'm using is called Detonation Trigger. It increases explosion damage by 25%. Explosions apply 405 burning damage over 5 seconds. And for some more explosive damage, I'm wearing the Blasting Cap Ring, and this increases it by 10% more. And with the burden of the destroyer, ideal range you don't really need with an explosive build, so I get a free 15% damage increase. And for my final ring, I like to either use rerouting cable for some more survivability, or burden of the follower, which reduces the fire rate for 15% and increases mob power generation by 50. Since fire rate doesn't matter either with an explosive build, this way I can get my mods coming back super fast. And here's why I'm using the engineer. I actually love the impact cannon. I don't know if it's considered explosive damage or not. I just really like the way it complements my build. Anything that comes within the vicinity of my turret will suffer an impact that staggers and significantly damages their health. And it usually takes only 2 impacts to kill almost any enemy. At least require a little bit more damage to take out, but it's still light work. It's also really cool when I detach the turret, then overclock it, which increases damage and gives me infinite ammo temporarily. That's the prime perk for engineer, by the way. And I was actually surprised as to how much damage this thing deals. Also the amount of mobility you have while holding it. The evade window is really high. Oh yeah, and I forgot to say one more thing about the impact cannon. You almost never need to worry about ads during boss fights. As long as it's deployed next to you, anything that tries to get near you while you focus DPS the boss will get killed immediately. I'm sure you can see that during this hatchery boss fight. I'm using Archon alongside it, which also helps me to keep spamming explosives back to back. And the great thing about this build is that we know it's really awesome for ad control, but also the direct damage it deals to single targets is just as deadly, if not more. Check out the stats here and the traits I'm using. I usually tend to have the same traits in almost every build unless there's something specific that I'm trying to go for. And I honestly have not seen any other explosive builds on YouTube yet. Maybe people don't think they're viable. Well, they definitely are. And this is actually a great template to build off of for your own explosive build. I appreciate you, as always, for watching to the end. If this helped you out in any way, a like on the video will be super appreciated. Also subscribe if you're new here. I'll see you in my next video. Be right out.